Wednesday, August 24th, 2016. Monaco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I'd like to talk about energy, and particularly an article I've read recently by Steve Santangelo, and I'll put the link below to it. His website is srsroccoreport.com, and the title of the article is Unlocking Gold's True Value, the Economic Code Finally Revealed. And the main concept he talks about, and it's something I have to admit I haven't looked too much into, the energy market or crude oil. I do follow the price of oil, but not much more, in terms of analyzing it deeply. But the main concept he talks about is EROI, and that stands for Energy Returned on Invested Energy. So basically, it's the amount of energy that you get out of a process of extracting energy, in this case, crude oil. So it's EROI. And he gives examples, by units of energy. Like in the beginning, a hunter-gatherer, in thousands of years ago, they would be able to extract 10 calories of food by burning 1 calorie of food. So that was a pretty good deal. You didn't use up too much calories, and you extracted 10 calories of food from each calorie that you exerted. For simple human farming, the EROI is 5-to-1, so not bad, half the efficiency of a hunter-gatherer. Human and animal farming is around 1 to 2-to-1, so not as good at all. And apparently the high-tech modern food system is 1-to-10, so we have to exert 10 calories of energy to get 1 calorie. So that's like, I guess, fast food and the modern process of food. And the other concept he talks about is that in the modern industrial and prosperous society, we need an EROI of 30-to-1. So basically we need to be able to have 30 calories of energy for every calorie exerted. And he goes on to talk about that the EROI for the United States oil industry, domestic oil industry, was higher than 30-to-1 prior to 1970. But then we had peak oil in the US, and that started to drop. And he equates that to the fact that also public debt started increasing after 1970 and 71. That also coincides with the U.S. going off the gold standard. So, and he also points out that U.S. shale oil production comes at an EROI of 5-to-1 or less, so not very good. And he points out that the EROI for the global oil production is continuing to fall below 10-to-1. So basically, he's actually pointing out that the reason why we've got such a big debt problem, and the reason why interest rates are being kept low or negative is that we've come to a point where our modern industrial society that has evolved, with the development of hydrocarbons and petroleum, is actually shifting very quickly. And it's not paying off anymore. Prior to the late 1800s, the oil industry didn't exist. And then it did evolve, like from late 1800s Standard Oil and, the oil industry grew massively, and it was very, very cheap. The EROI was very good. It was worthwhile. So we've been able to consume and produce things that 150 years ago we never thought we'd be able to, and that's all been done because of hydrocarbons, petroleum, or you want to call it fossil fuel. I know some people will disagree with me on the fossil fuel, but anyway, petroleum, crude oil has allowed the modern industrial society to prosper, and to have things, to be able to expand. But in the US, since 1970, the EROI has been dropping considerably. And the reason that happens is because the more you extract something from the earth, the more difficult it's going to be to get it. You're going to exert more energy. So this guy's basically saying, and he's got a study that he looks at from a group called the Hills Group, and they talk about this concept of EROI, and they basically think that the oil industry is going to disappear in the next decade because it won't be worthwhile to extract oil anymore. Yes, there's still plenty of oil out there, but if it costs you, more energy to take the oil out, it's not worth it. And you might ask, well, won't oil prices go up, if they can't extract as much energy? Well, not if, the oil industry disappears and people don't extract oil anymore. But, and he points out that that's the reason why, we've had to increase as a society and the system, monetary system. The debt has exploded because we haven't been able to extract as much, basically energy per energy exerted to get that energy out. So it's getting more and more difficult and more expensive. So we have to get more and more into debt to keep our standards of living. But he thinks it's coming to an end. And that's quite interesting. It's something I haven't looked at, but as it relates to gold and silver, Steve Santangelo thinks that what we've had is an overvaluation of paper assets, i.e. debt, because we've been able to extract, this extra energy from the petroleum crude oil industry for, the last 100 years and especially the last 40 years. But now that's coming to an end. And he thinks all assets that are, based on this modern economy that needs this this energy source is gonna turn around and basically implode. So all the wealth that people think they have from a modern hydrocarbon, petroleum, crude oil run economy is going to evaporate, and a lot of that wealth is going to go into precious metals because precious metals preserve wealth over time, gold and silver, that is. I'm not just talking about gold, it's gold and silver. And he points out that wealth won't be created, it will just be preserved. And I guess you look at some of what the billionaires, or some people call trillionaires, have been doing. They've been getting out of equities, buying gold, and they, like Bill Gross has said that you need to worry about the return of your investment, not the return on your investment. Jacob Rothschild as well has come out in the last week, his report to his shareholders of his trust. He's saying that wealth preservation right now is more important, and they're buying gold as well. So that all kind of makes sense. And that gives me another view into all this debt creation, why the central banks are going crazy, because the system is basically collapsing, because we can't get as much energy as we used to get. It's getting more and more difficult to extract that energy. I know some of you will say, oh, Lindsay Williams said that there's no oil energy crisis, that we've got loads of oil in the north, in Alaska. But until I see anything about that, we have to, maybe give this report some benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's an interesting take on it. So yes, EROI, energy returned on energy invested. Interesting concept. I think you should have a look at it. I'll put the link below to the report. If you enjoyed this analysis, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to donate to my channel, I've got a link, 3 links below in the description for Bitcoin, PayPal, and Patreon. Take care. Bye.